Hey, what is going on, Facebook? How is everybody doing? It is another episode of Millennial with Billy and Mel. So we're here. We're here to
What's up?
yell. Hopefully, we're sounding a little bit better than last week. so,
I hope so.
but hopefully we work those kinks out and stuff like that. So, but if you are going to be joining us today, what we're going to be talking about today is something that I think is a really important topic, especially nowadays. Is knowing when to let go of something or somebody that's toxic or somebody that's bringing you down, especially if it's somebody close to you, like friends, family, right? That could be a difficult situation. So, but we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And, but before, like I said, if you're going to be jumping on the live, which a lot of you will, please make sure you comment where you're coming in from. We'd love to give you a shout out. And if you're going to be jumping on the replay, make sure you do the exact same thing. Check our page out, the Millennial. We're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. We're on all the sites, right? We're everywhere. But before we get into today's topic, Mel, what is going on? How are you doing?
Hi. So I just literally, my doorbell rang and I had to get up during the intro because I had my monthly flower subscription delivered. Thank God, because look at Billy's setup and his lights. He's really showing off here with his new background, which is awesome, Billy. Thank you. But now luckily I was able to add this because you're making me work, but I'm good. Hey, Sean, thanks for watching. Brandon's on. Toxic family is worse. Yeah, we'll talk about that. But no, it's been a whirlwind of a week. I don't know anybody else felt like just things were nonstop. We've got Derby Day coming up next weekend, and it comes down to the wire of with the text, the emails, the calls. I feel like I haven't gotten even much work done, unfortunately, with just all of that. So I'm a little I'm ready to yell. I'm ready to yell, but no, it's good. What about you? Other than getting your new light.
Yeah, my new light. Like I said, I'm trying to step up the game, right? And little by little, you learn something new. But I think, were you on the news? Like, I thought you posted something this week. You were on the actual news, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, for Derby Day, I'm the design sponsor. I was doing it for many years with Jump Street, and then the organization dissolved, and Greystone took that up. That I switched over there, and I help out a lot with that event. It's my favorite day of the year and my favorite event. And I have a really great Derby outfit and hat coming. But the news was to promote for obviously Derby fashion. We just wanted to get on because it's for Bethesda Mission. It's benefiting the Bethesda Mission that really needs a lot of help this year. So if anybody's interested, Derby Day, May 1st, hit me up.
Yeah. I have to admit, though, your flowers do look great. I have to admit, I'll give you credit where credit's due. So, but anyways, let's get right into it. I know, Mel, we've talked about this before, but not like really dedicated a whole show to it. But we've talked about like letting go of certain things, or like certain things happen in our life, especially with people. And for me, like, it's crazy because, I was reading a couple articles before we started talking about this today. And one of the articles talked about is that sometimes it's important to, like, there's friends and things that come into your life that may only come into your life for a season, right? They might not be there for their entire aspect of things, but taking the opportunity to learn from those people. But I want to talk about why it's important to let go of toxic things in your life, right? And so some of the things that I think about, and I'd love to get your opinion on it, is, for me, the big thing, the most important thing I think is it limits how much you're going to grow as a person.
Absolutely. Yeah, I didn't even take any notes. I mean, I was so busy that I didn't prepare, but I don't need to because I have a lot of experience in this.
I think we all do. I think we all have a lot of experience in this.
I feel like I did. I just wrote down a few bullets, but absolutely. not only do I think people, come in and out of our lives at different times to teach us, lessons, blessings, that whole thing. It absolutely, I think it's a chance for us to learn from lessons, and there's times where you're in a place that, too, I think, whether it's professionally or personally, things work, and then things change in your life and they don't work with people anymore, and that's okay. And I think that people, serve a purpose. We all serve a purpose at different times. And I think that sometimes we just outgrow people, or people outgrow us. I mean, it's vice versa too.
Yeah, that was an interesting thought. Like, because sometimes, like, are you the toxic person in the relationship and you don't know it? Like, but often or not, like, yeah, it's definitely prevents growth, I think. I think it also gets in the way of other relationships. Like, if you're, especially like if you're dealing with a toxic family member, and if you're married or something like that, or you're trying to date, like even having a toxic family member in your kind of relationship, it could divide a wedge, right? Because, yeah, they're your family member, right? You want to take care of them and stuff like that, but you also have responsibilities for other people in your life, right? You have other responsibilities, not just of other people, but you have other responsibilities just outside of that individual relationship.
Yeah, and I think we've talked about positivity breeds positivity, negativity breeds negativity, and I think that the more that you're around negative people, sometimes you start to become negative, or and I think when you're around positive people, you become more positive. But there's absolutely, that has happened with me at different stages. I mean, our parents go through issues in their lives and their marriages and ups and downs, and so do we, and our friends. And it absolutely, if you are that close, then it comes into your life. And I think that it's a really hard thing to separate that, and you want to be there for them, and it's your family and your friends. And but there's a fine line between having to step away sometimes, or separate in that you're not letting it come into you. And I've done that. I mean, example, I mean, again, like, my parents have gone up and down, like, again, everybody's, but there were times where I just didn't like some of the tension that was going on. And I just said, I don't want to bring my husband or my future kids, or, and I was honest, and I had to step away. And look, it was years ago. I mean, 10, so many years ago, that they're in love again, it was great. But it's different times that you have to kind of learn when to let it consume you or not,
Oh yeah. I mean, that's such a good point. And then, like, another thing I had written down, and this is, I think, what happens to me a lot of the times, is like, you have, especially the longer you keep those people around, like, the more toxic that relationship is. It sets up, like, I want to call them, like, invisible roadblocks.
Yeah.
Because, like, sometimes, like, you might be hitting a wall somewhere in your life and you really don't understand why. But it's the trauma that you probably dealing with, said toxic person, said toxic thing in your life. And so that's an area that, like, I think that's, a lot of, like, my self-development revolves around that, like, understanding, like, where those hidden obstacles are. But, definitely, I think toxic people, toxic things will block you from not only having great relationships, but potential success in your life, in your career, and those aspects.
Yeah, and I think as we get older, that Brandon made a really great point. You become the average of 5 people you hang around, I think is what you were thinking. Drew had said, yeah, absolutely. And I think too, you kind of, the weakest link, there's also, kind of, you come down to the lowest common denominator sometimes. But I just think that what I've learned because of being around toxic people, and because also when you don't have clarity and you're going through things like my divorce, I was not in a good place and I didn't have clarity. Was I toxic? I don't think I was a hurtful, hateful. I mean, I've never been, been the toxic. I probably had I was probably toxic just to myself in a sense. I don't think I was toxic to other people. But you attract that sometimes because you're not in a good place and you don't have clarity. And that's why sometimes when people are going through hard things in their life, they start hanging with people who are going through hard things in their life. And then you're making bad decisions, and it's drinking or drugs or just not work, you just get so off track for success. But I think as I've gotten older, I've been able to see the toxic right away. And that's what you were saying is how do you know, or what do you do? I mean, first of all, you run. You don't walk, you run. But there's a difference between whether it's somebody new and something that comes in and you can just say, nope, not going to happen. Sorry. Or it's something that is somebody that's been there for a really long time and they're just in a bad place too. And this is all like, friends and family. We're not even talking about business and professional sense of whether it's your boss or your coworkers or a client. I mean, there's definitely a lot going on with it could.
Oh yeah, no, I mean, totally. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Like, it doesn't just, we're talking about family and friends, but it does extend to professional relationships. Something like, and what I love about what we do here is like, we're really like kind of transparent, and I like being able to open up, and that's good because it helps other people. And so like even other people's relationships, right? Like if you have a friend who's seeing somebody, right, and that's a toxic relationship, and then that leaches into your relationship, right? And then the same thing, like, when kids go through divorce, right? That's a toxic moment. When my parents got divorced, I was really young. And so at the time, like, you deal with a lot of change and a lot of trauma, and you don't really experience the after effects of that until you're way older and you're in your own relationships at this point.
Right.
And you take a lot of that baggage into those relationships. And so it's not only like things that directly involve you, like, the relationship that directly involves you and some other person, you and some other thing. It can be an indirect toxic relationship that affects you as a person and how you think.
Absolutely. And I think that sometimes we don't know, or we don't see it, because we're trying to help somebody, or we're trying to be the friend, or, and we want to still hang out with, somebody, and we want to do those things. But at the same time, I personally have had to make some decisions not to participate in activities because I knew that it wasn't going to be anything that was benefiting me in the way that I wanted to, and growth and making me better. I'd rather sometimes just be at home, than in a sense. But I think that it is really interesting in how, in making decisions to step back, whether it's like an actual event and saying, no, I don't want to go to that, or no, I don't want to be around that person. I'm sorry, I'm tired, or, I have other plans. And you can make up a lie just for that one event, right? Even if you had to, if you didn't really want to say, I don't want to hang out with this person, or I don't like this person. But I think the truth is, at some point, you might have to face that conversation in a sense of, do I really want to be friends with this person? Or I don't know that I can associate with you anymore, in a sense. I mean, or pull away. And how do you do that? I mean, that's a really hard thing to do. And whether you want to have those conversations, most of the people don't know that they are that way, or they don't care. They're just not going to change, So it's when it comes down to it, honestly, I think you just have to walk away. I mean, I'm doing it with a client right now. I just have to step away. It's just too much, and the stress and the headache and the time and the energy, it's just energy sucking. You just have to walk away. And
That's okay. Yeah, and like you said, it's even harder when it's like a family member, because there's, if it's a friend or if it's a business relationship, that's a little bit more easier to step away from than somebody that's like, oh, my camera went away.
Well, I'm still here, so I'm just what are you doing?
I don't know. My camera went crazy. So, okay. But yeah, so sometimes you have to step away from from the family, but that's a lot harder conversation than just being able to, that's just a lot harder conversation to have,
right?
Because there's so much more involved in that situation than what that. But what I want to talk about is, what do you think are to you, what is some things that you start to notice that might mean a toxic relationship?
Oh, well, it's actually funny. Like things like that, like I was saying, where my blood starts to boil in that. Some of the time is people aren't listening to you. They're not respecting your requests. And again, I can compare this easily to a boyfriend, girlfriend, a friend, a best friend, a family, a professional, a client. If people aren't listening to you and you're saying, I don't like this, I don't want this, I don't do it this way, I want it this way. And I get compromise and I get all that. But I think that when someone's not respecting you, and they're continuously doing what they want to do in any aspect and treating you a certain way, it is selfish and it's disrespect, and that's toxic. And for me, I just, yeah, that's a huge thing. The other things, and I'll go back to the relationships. Thankfully, I was in a very bad toxic relationship after my divorce. Partially my fault. Like I said, I was in a bad place and I made bad decisions myself, because you don't have clarity. You're around people that don't have clarity and drama and all that. But what I was just talking about this last night with a friend. I didn't even know we were going to talk about this topic, and we talked so much about this. So I'm happy to share all this. It becomes exhausting. It becomes mentally, emotionally, exhausting, because I think that there's times where you feel you have fear, pain, you can't trust somebody, you're crying, you're upset, like there's just anxiety, and or you have to feel, it's something that you don't want to do around somebody, you have to lie, just anything that is not a good feeling inside. I mean, obviously, but I went through some bad times where I promised myself that I would never allow certain things ever again. And luckily I haven't been in any type of toxic, somewhat indirectly toxic family members, but it's so much, it's just such a better feeling when you don't have to wake up in the morning with any type of angst, and that's where I think, if you're waking up or if you're going through your day and you're feeling something about your partner or a friend or your anybody that you're interacting with, and it's some type of angst and it's some type of, that I don't know if I'm describing it well. I think it's absolutely a problem. I could give tons of examples, but I think for me that when it starts to get that way, I think it's where you're with people that are bringing you down, they're not lifting you up, and it doesn't align with your goals, and where you are in your life, and there's plenty of things. I mean, I've had friends that have wanted me to lie, to people, and that's not cool.
Yeah, that is.
And it's toxic. And I think, like I said, I'm trying at this point to judge that and see that and kind of make decisions right off the bat. And if I decide to continue, or if I decide to do things, then that's my own fault. It never ends well. I mean, and then I go, why did I do this? Why, I said last week I wasn't going to do this, or I said I was going to, put my foot down or do this or do that. And it's my own fault. I'm the only one that can control not doing that. And actually this week I made a good decision not to go out when I was asked. And I'm very proud of myself for doing it with a group that I just, have been saying I didn't want to. So I it's just taking that step to go in a better direction, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with a lot of what you said. The one thing I think about when I think about like a toxic relationship in general is like when you feel emotionally drained, right? Like when you feel like physically tired from talking to somebody, and listen, I'm not saying that you shouldn't listen to your family and friends and help them out and stuff like that, but when they're constantly like just taking and taking and taking and not giving anything back, right? And especially like somebody like me who's a giver, right? Like I want to help as many people as I can. I want to, give as much good advice as I can, right? Talking about advice. But like when you have somebody that's in your life and they're just constantly making deposits, I mean, not making deposits, making withdrawals, right?
Yeah,
and they're not depositing anything back into you, right? It's almost like when they contact you or get involved with you, right? You're just like, oh, like you gotta mentally prepare yourself to have a conversation with them. And like I said, I'm here to help. I'm here to help, and talk through things. But then again, it's like when you talk through things and you give advice or you're like, hey, let's do this. There's so many different options here. Like, and it's just like nothing's good enough. It's like they just want to complain. Right. And like I get it, but like, you gotta reciprocate at one point, right? You just can't just be a me giving, and you just take, right?
Yeah, maybe that also is like the definition of a toxic friend. I mean, even if it's not like it could just be emotionally, like they're in a spot, or something with their relationship, or it doesn't need to be. I'm trying to relate it to myself, but I just think maybe that's what it also a good definition would be is like when you're not getting out of the relationship, friendship, what you're putting in, and somebody is just take. It has to be 50-50. I mean, I've had friends where, you don't call me or you don't come to see me or whatever it was. It's like, well, you don't come to see me either. Like, I'm not, I'm not mad at you, but it has to be equal parts in a friendship or a relationship or a business partnership, obviously, where it's equal. Both people want to spend time. Both people want to communicate. Both people want to grow. Both people want success for each other. Both people want to see each other happy, right? So I think when one person isn't there, I would define that as toxic.
Yeah, I mean, like when you were talking, like the first thought that came to my mind is like you can't be you around that person. Like you're walking on eggshells, right?
I was just thinking that this morning.
Yeah, like you're walking on eggshells. Like if you say something that's like if you celebrating something, right, brings them down. It's like, well, I understand like we all go through seasons in our lives and we all have, issues and stuff that we're all dealing with. But there's, especially like on, and we always bring it back to social media, right? And it's just like, obviously that's most people's highlight reel. You're posting the best stuff that's going on. But it's just like, you feel like, all right, if I like express myself, like that's going to piss them off and that's going to extend the conversation. Right. And I really don't, I want to be not like, I don't want to emotionally invest anything else into this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And what was funny was, my last relationship, I felt I could be myself for the first time. I actually felt, and I think it was just because I had set standards for myself and I had respect for myself and I trusted myself. And, I really felt I could be myself, and I was allowed to be and encouraged. And, and what's the word, like celebrated, for being who, me. I never really knew maybe who I was and I felt really great about it. Unfortunately there were other toxic things going on, but it was parents, and that's what we're talking about. It might not just be you and your partner or a friend. It could be your or their parents causing it to be toxic, and that's unfortunate. But it's the responsibility of the adult to obviously address that and change that. But I think I'm in a place right now, and some of the conversations that I have, I really feel I can be myself. And when somebody is what's the word? Like, obviously, I don't know what the word is, but when somebody makes you better, obviously, they're not bringing you down and they're not putting you down. I think that's very healthy versus, the opposite.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's just, I think what it comes down to, like, for me is like, when I feel like I need to avoid that person, right?
Yeah.
Like, where you're like, okay, like, I need to avoid this person at all costs. Like, and then it's like, but then you need to talk to them. You need to have conversations with them because, like, and so, like, you're like, okay, I'm going to plan this one day. I'm not going to do anything beforehand. I'm not going to do anything after because I have to kind of regain myself, right? I think that's don't get me wrong. Anybody that's watching this, there's that one person in your life that you avoid like the plague, right?
Yeah.
Like, and you're like, when you see them, you try to be very cordial, but then when you're like, oh my God, like that person like just drives me up a wall. So, but yeah, so I think avoidance, when you have to, when you think about avoiding that person and it brings you joy, right? That could be a bad situation.
Instead of it being joy, being excited to see them and thinking about them, it's the joy of not seeing them. Yeah. I mean, and that's hard, I think, too, because also I do think that a lot of it has to do with external factors and situations that people are in. It's hard. I mean, I was not the person that I was and wanted to be in that toxic relationship. I mean, I even did things uncharacteristic of myself because it was just not healthy. And I think that, then the people in your life, whether you push them away or whether they walk away or whether you start to attract more unhealthy people, which I did as a girl, as a friend. And it was horrible. I mean, it was just like, and you just don't see these things because you're not in a good spot. So, I mean, I've kind of been on both sides of it. I think we all have, but I don't want to go back. That's for sure.
That's true. I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's tough. And so, I think, I definitely want to talk about some ways, in some of my research, I found like a website that talked about like how to like get away from maybe toxic people. And you had mentioned one that's really probably the most important, I think, is like creating space, right? Creating that safe space, that safe distance where, especially if it is a family member, right? If it is someone that you're gonna see on a regular basis, is like schedule that, right? Make sure that you're like taking the time to kind of like space that out. Like, because the more you let that person in, the more, and even the best, the person that says that they don't care, they still care. Like that still leaches into your subconscious, right? That still leaches into your and drains you of your energy. Like everything drains you of your energy. And so creating space between those is like, and I had to let go of some people before, and like you just every so often you just create more and more space, right? You contact them less. It's not like ripping off a Band-Aid and say, like, I don't think I could ever just tell somebody, like, it would have to be a really tough situation for me just to say, I don't want you in my life anymore. Like, it would have to be some pretty effed up stuff that you did, right? For me to just like say I'm done, right? Because I like to see the best in everybody, and I guess that's my downfall when it comes to toxic people. You still see the best in that person. You see what they used to be maybe before they got toxic.
Right. Or you see their potential, or like you want that, the hope. But honestly, I mean, we can't sit around and hope and want and for other people if they don't want for themselves. And Brandon made a comment here. Interactions with parents and family is also very difficult. I think when growing up in a toxic culture and then trying to escape it can be very difficult. And now I'm gone. Where am I?
Are you there? No, you're there.
Here. Oh, on my screen I went black. So you probably thought I was like, where am I? What's going on? now I sound like cuckoo crazy. Like, where am I? The screen went black. So if you hear me going off like like I'm going nuts, it's because I didn't see myself. But yeah, I absolutely agree. And I actually had a conversation about what is it? Changing the family, generational trauma. And this is exactly what, he's saying in a sense of toxic culture and then things that are brought down from our parents, our grandparents to our parents. And because of their relationships, because of their divorce, because of their issues, their trauma, they never got counseling, and grieved certain things. It comes down into our relationships, and as adults and all these things. You're absolutely right, Brandon. And I think that absolutely, creating that space. So I think there's the only times that I've ever literally said I'm out like right away is like somebody that just blatantly disrespected me, and or did something that was just so bad that was like, listen, not okay, can't do this, like wish you the best, bye. I've only done it a couple times with like girls or with like friends. With guys, I've done it because I think at the beginning, and it's not a toxic thing, it was just they maybe wanted to go out. I said no thank you, or this, and like, hey, just want to be friends. And then I finally had to say, listen, I'm not interested, or something that's not necessarily relating to this, but there are times I think that you have to just be upfront and honest, because it will continue. And the space, absolutely, pulling back in certain situations when you can, if it's somebody that you hang out with in groups, if it's somebody that you hang out with here or there, it's not something that's, you see them on a regular basis. It's kind of like you can pull back and just make that interaction slower and slower and slower. And then maybe it'll kind of fade off. I think when it can work like that. I've done it, but with my family, like as Brandon says, with our parents, I mean, it's difficult. We go through things one week and then we're fine the next, and then we kind you kind of get into a little thing. It's like it never happened. But the times where I've said I've had to walk away, I chose to stand my ground and make it known that I was not going to put up with this. Let's just say, and hey, like, you have your life, you guys do your thing. I have my own life. I'm going to eventually have a family. Like, we have to be able to choose to put ourselves first, and our family and our relationship, our family. I mean, like our family, meaning like our spouse and our kids. I know you have a spouse, I did, but I don't have that family unit with children, but the family of our parents. I think many people don't realize that you have to focus on you. I mean, this is my opinion. I'm not, hey, the Millennial, we don't disclaimer.
I feel like I should have a banner that's a disclaimer.
Disclaimer. We should put a disclaimer. This isn't fact. This is just opinion. I think that I've known a lot of people that have struggled with putting themselves first and their spouse and then their children. Like, you have a life and a future to live that you need to focus on. And you have a duty and responsibility to your unit, your spouse and your kids. Your parents had that duty, but you don't have to, whether you walk away, whether you separate, whether you make your boundaries, you can, and you should, I mean, why is it so difficult to say, look, have at it. Like, that's your life. You had your life to I have mine to live, you know? Disclaimer, we are not experts in this matter. Billy, if for people that aren't watching this and just listening, you put a running type at the bottom. You know, it's funny that, I mean, I know that everyone's in different places, and I didn't walk away for months and months and months and months from a toxic relationship. I get it. But when it's years and years and years and years, and there's excuses, or, you know, we only live once and we have a, you know, little time left, and it's like, why would you choose to be in those toxic situations? And we know that it's fear and the unknown and all these things, but I think you have to want that for yourself, obviously.
Yeah, I think a reason we stay in those relationships is guilt, right? We feel like it's our fault they're that way, or maybe we feel guilty because we can't help them, right? Or something along those lines. So like, those are the thoughts that run through my head, is like, well, you know, if I don't listen to them, no one else is going to, right? And then like, you know, like, do they slip down a slippery slope at that point? You know, if no one's going to listen to them, like, what happens then, right? Where do they go there? And so like, sometimes like, that's how I feel. Like, I'm like, oh my God, like, you know, I'm the only person that's going to take the time to listen to them. If I don't, I'm going to feel bad because they might not have somebody else to talk to, or is willing to listen to them talk, hear them talk.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt that way too. But I think when nothing changes, and you have to give it a time frame, you know, okay, am I going to do this for a year? Am I going to do this for 5 years? You know, and when that doesn't change, then what do? You have to decide what, you know, you're just there. You're there to for them to pour this into you and drain you. You know what I mean? And I think absolutely I've done it. But I think that's the whole point, is that, you know, when they're toxic, they're not, a lot of people, they don't care. I don't want to say that they don't know. I think that most people just don't have clarity and maybe it could be insecurities. Maybe it could be, I don't know, it could be anything. But I think that, you know, I've been in situations where you can tell somebody over and over and over and over again, you know, hey, like, you know, I'd like you to get help, or hey, you should break up with this guy, or hey, that job's not good for you, or that boss, or this. And, you know, people are going to do what they want to do at the end of the day.
Yeah. I mean, it's,
you can only do so much. That's what I'm saying. You can only do so much, and then you have to walk away.
Yeah, and I think as in societies, you know, we're notorious. Most people are notorious for taking on too much, right? And then we take on too much, and then that. Can you not hear me?
No, I meant me. I was pointing to myself.
Yeah. You know, we take on way too much, and we try to help everybody. And we, you know, it's funny. It's like when you get on a plane, right? Like, what is the first thing they tell you to do? Like, if the, you know, the little masks come down, you know, they tell you to secure your own mask before you start securing everybody else's mask, right? And so, but in life, we don't do that. We try to secure everybody else's mask before, you know, and we are, you know, suffocating ourselves from,
absolutely,
you know, and we're not getting the oxygen we need or the energy that we need. And, you know, we've taken care of everybody else, but now we're in the corner dead, right? Like we're not able to have that same. So yeah, I do that too. I think everybody does that. I think everybody to some point thinks of everybody else before they think of themselves.
Yeah, and I think you're right. It's exactly the oxygen mask, and it goes back to, you know, you can't help others if you don't help yourself. And if you're not happy, you know, you have to be happy first to make somebody else happy. It's kind of in along those lines. And I think that's what it is we also distract ourselves with other people's problems so that we don't have to face our own, you know.
Procrastination,
you know, but when we start to really face our problems and we start being honest with ourselves, I think that's the idea, that we can then see that in other people. You know, we can see that people aren't being honest with themselves because we are being honest with ourselves. And that's the hardest part, is that difference, the disconnect between the two people who aren't being honest, you know, or, you know, one is and one isn't. And that's where I think it's hard. But you know, I did it. I wanted to help everybody. And I got to a point finally, I mean, it was years ago, but it's like, no, you know what? I got to help myself. I got to help myself. And then, it'll follow. Helping, and even with this, with the stuff with the business, the 10X stuff that I'm doing, once you get to the place, when you get your business to the place, when you get your finances to the place, you can really help so many more people after that. We're all trying to do that, like you said, and I'm guilty of it, but I think I could really help more, or make a bigger impact when you're finally, you've got your shit together and you're good. And you can help the right people and the best people and the people that you care about. We're probably also spreading it to so many things that we should be focusing on ourselves and our spouse and our kids and our friends and our parents, all that stuff. But instead, if you've got it going on with so many different aspects, how can you really focus on the people that you really want to give it to? It's like you were saying, shit, I forget, but I'm fired up.
You were on a roll. I was just letting you go.
I'm fired up.
But like, to go back to what you were just saying, like, the thought that ran through my head was like, and we talked about it before, but it, like you said, spreading yourself too thin, like, and if you do, you can only give a little bit of energy here and a little bit of energy over there, and because you're spreading your energy so much in so many different directions, right, that you can't really help those people that maybe do genuinely need your help, right? And and there are some people that are in a toxic place that really do need help, right? Mm-hmm. And you're trying to help them, but then there's those people that know they're toxic, right? They know full well, and they take advantage of people like us because we're willing to give that energy. They just want to complain, right? They just want to, bring people down to their level, knowing that they don't want to move anywhere else, right? They don't want to do anything else. They don't want to fix the problem. They want people to be on their level and experience their pain.
Right. And they want to be a victim. That's right. I mean, I had just had this conversation last night, and it's actually ironic, but I think that there's people out there that don't want to help themselves because they do want to be the victim. They want to complain. They want to, woe is me, pity me, and they don't want to own it and just grieve and move on. And there's a whole world out there for all of us after that. And I think we talked about one day about trusting yourself. It's like there was a meme and it said about, trusting other people. Oh, you never know. You could trust who you can trust, but you have to trust yourself, because then you trust yourself to walk away. You don't need to trust anybody. I mean, you do need to trust people, right? I mean, obviously we all want to trust people, but at the end of the day, the only person that we really, really, really need to trust is ourselves to walk away from the people that break that trust. And that's what happened was back then I didn't trust myself. I wanted to trust somebody saying, oh, I'm never going to do it again, or, oh, it's going to change, or, oh, it's going to get better. And you want to trust people because you don't trust yourself. And I think that I wanted to. It was confidence, it was insecurity, it was manipulation, it was control, it was going through divorce, like whatever. I was a mess. But I think that I didn't trust myself enough to know that, I could walk away and get out of that toxic and just say bye. And now 2 seconds, I go, oh no, see ya. Like, but back, 4 or 5 years ago, it sucked. And I think that if we can start to really trust ourselves, knowing that we'll be okay out of that toxic relationship, which we all will. And I think that, you forget how amazing it is outside of it, yeah. And Heather, exactly. It's easy to stay in victim mentality. It takes work and looking internally to step out of that thinking. Absolutely. I mean, and I think, I don't know. I mean, I think, and Sean even said here that unfortunately, this hits home. And yeah, I mean, I think that we've all been in situations, and we've had things happen around us that has affected us, and it's just a matter of trusting ourselves to that space, like you said, and remove.
Yeah, man, that is so tough to do, is to trust yourself, right? And if you can't trust yourself, how can you trust somebody else, right? Like that's not a recipe for a great relationship, right? And so, I mean, and it's crazy just the things that make relationships toxic. Like, I was talking to Brandon, and we talked about, I mean, how many families were split up this year or last year, not only due to the pandemic, right? And the difference of opinion of, you're on this side, I'm on this side with the pandemic, political, divides within families. It's just crazy. Like, to think like there's things that are so fixable that divide us, but we're not able to move past those things. And going back to like, how do you do it? Like, I think for me, realizing like that because they feel that way, that's not my fault. Like, that's not my responsibility to change the way they think. Like, like, what I'm saying? Like, it's like, sometimes I think like that. Like, I'm like, well, I have to be the voice of reason for these people. And it's like, no, I don't. Like, that's not my responsibility. Like, at the end of the day, my responsibility is for myself, obviously for Megan, right? Being in a marriage. And so that's where my responsibility lies first and foremost. And then everything after that, that energy can go towards. But yeah.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And that's what I was saying earlier was about our parents. I mean, look, we all love our parents. We want to support our parents, but it's a different relationship. When we were children, we didn't understand the responsibilities, the duties, the struggles, the work that it goes into a marriage, and having children and all that. And then when we get as adults, look, we're going to have differences in opinions and parenting and living our lives. I think it's not necessarily, you're never going to be able to change people and tell them. You just have to know what you want to do for yourself and stay true to that, and make sure that you continue to separate the boundaries and stuff. I mean, and that's what I popped Sean's comment up about seeing things in other people and not being able to help. And that's what you were saying. It's like, it's hard. We all want to help people, but I think that you hit the nail on the head. I've said this before. It's not our role to help people to see that they need to change. I mean, it is our role. I think it's our duty to help people get help that they need. But I think it's not our role to take on for our life in front of ourself and put that before somebody that's not going to change and doesn't know. We can't take on teaching a grown-ass man how to be a respectful, kind, partner. We can't take on. It's not our role to, I don't know. I'm just saying. I mean, I've learned that. It's, I don't want to walk away because he is really upset and I don't know what he's going to do. It might hurt himself. Well, it's not your role. It's not your role to you have to worry about yourself. You have to worry about your family and, and your future and all that. And I just think that it's such a fine line because we're empaths, obviously, we really care. We want to help people, but it's hard. It's hard to make that cut when you stop helping somebody because they don't want to help themselves.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and you took the words right out of my mouth. Is like, I can't want it more than you. Like I can't want.
I always do though. I always do.
You know, it's like anything. Like I can't want it more than you do. Like if that's the case, like you're not going to change. And you know, there's the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Like I will be more than glad to be like, you know, if someone says, you know, hey Billy, like I'm just dealing with all this stuff, like, you know, what are your thoughts? Like, what do you think? Like, and I don't mind giving my opinion, but if I have to keep giving the same opinion over and over and over again, and I keep telling you the exact same thing, right? Like, you know, I don't have to tell, you know, like no one has to tell me to not touch a hot stove, right? Because I know it's hot, right? And you get close to it and you're like, oh, that's hot. I don't want to get hurt, right? I don't want to get burned. So you don't do that. But then when you run into somebody that continually puts their hand on the stove, burning themselves, it gets tiresome, right? It's like, yeah. So it's like, you know, and then that eats away at you, right? And then your patience gets less with that person. So even, you know, down the road, maybe they finally do get in the you know, frame of mind, but they've cried wolf so many times that you're like, well, there's really not a wolf outside anymore, right? And then you're not there to help. So like,
how long do you spend? Yeah, like how long do you spend until you're drained? You know, I mean, and you've drained you've drained a lot. You know, it's energy sucking. I'm telling you. And look, I even, you know, it affected me financially, mentally, physically. I mean, you know, there's things that it just becomes so draining, and I think that the sooner you learn to get out, you know, and separate, and the better, obviously. But yeah, I mean, it's hard. I think that there's a combination of separating to an extent that's healthy for you, doing what you can by making suggestions, but not letting it really overtake anything in your life. You know, it's kind of like a balancing act of, you know, doing what you can, knowing that it might not, you know, like, and look, here's the other thing. Here's a question. You know, we go back to everybody has to do it on their own time. Okay. So sure. I mean that, you know, I made certain mistakes of going back and, you know, and finally it you know, I cut the cord, and I you know, completely walked away, let's just say, in a situation. But what about the people who it's like, oh, that you need to do it on your own time? What do you think about that? Because that's just basically people making excuses. You know, I made excuses. You know, I wasn't ready. I'll do it when I'm ready.
Well, you're never going to be ready.
Right.
I mean, if I said that, right, if I use that as a legit excuse, well, you know, I'll do it when I'm ready, like you would have never graduated the first grade.
Well, the thing is, like, aren't you ready to be happy? Aren't you ready to start a new life? Aren't you ready for success? Like, what do you mean when you're ready? Like, I mean, I know, like, I did it, but it was, you know, it was in a situation, you know, I don't know. I guess I'm confused at the people in my life that are going through it now. I mean, I went through it, but yeah, I mean, I guess everybody has to do things on their own time. It's hard to sit around, like Sean said, and watch people, you know, that you can't help because you are trying and you're doing things and it's not working. And it's not, you know, nothing's happening. Yeah. It's hard.
Yeah, it is hard. And it's like you're trying to tell them, and then you try to escalate the situation. You say, maybe you need to go talk to somebody that does this for a living, right? And then they get pissed off at you, like, well, you don't want to spend time with me. You don't want to help me. It's like, no, I've tried. Yeah, I've done everything in my power to help you. You just don't want my help, is what it comes down to.
Right.
Like you just want to talk and you just want to vent. And I get it. I want to vent too. But like when it's constant venting, then it's like, well, what do I do about this situation?
Well, and I think I've learned a good word in a sense of I don't support this. And I don't know if that really means anything to anybody, but what I've started to say is I just don't support this. You know, my life, my mindset, my goals don't align. They don't support what you're doing or what you're, you know, what this is. And that's okay. You can do it. I love you. Like, you know, you're great. I can't support this. And I think that that's a good way of saying, like, I don't agree with this and I don't want to be involved in a sense, you know, um, but I don't want to hear about it then. If you're going to do it and if you're going to, if that's what you're going to do and you're not going to change on all aspects, it's like, I don't want to hear about it because it's only going to bring that into my life. So do what you want to do. Fine. I just don't support it. And I think also going back to the whole thing of things take time. I mean, you know, I've been encouraging somebody to go to talk, you know, maybe somebody was talking to somebody, but I said, look, maybe it's a little bit more, you know, nothing to knock therapists and counselors and relationship counselors and all that. You know, there comes a time where you need to go to the big boys of, you know, psychologists and psychiatrists, because sometimes just talking and venting to somebody is just like going to your hairdresser and just like going to your best friend, and you need more. It's not enough. I'm not saying you need medication. I mean, the psychiatrist will let you know if you need medication, but you know, going for me, I wanted more than I was getting just somebody listening to me. And I stepped it up and I've enjoyed every minute of it. And it's made me so much, you know, I think I've grown so much, and I'm so, you know, I'm obviously into the self improvement like you, but it took me a long time to finally, I didn't give up. You know, I think I made separations, I made boundaries, I said my thoughts, I didn't let it bother, I didn't let it anger me, I didn't let it affect the relationship. I continued to say, I really think this is a good idea, I really suggest this, it's helped me, I really want you to go, I really need you to go, you know, every so-and-so and so-and-so need you to go, you know, please consider this. And it just, you know, it was every week or every 2 weeks, you know, it wasn't a hounding thing, you know, hey, this would be really great for you. And finally it happened. So, you know, and it's going to take months and years. And, you know, I mean, like it's not an overnight process. And I think I didn't give up on the person. I didn't walk away, but I think that I just had to realize I'm not going to fight. I'm not going to let it be an argument and toxic for me. I'm just going to, you know, make that separation, make the boundaries, and continue to give those little seeds of suggesting to get the professional help that was needed. And hopefully, you know, it'll start to really, you know, they'll make some changes.
Yeah, no, I mean, totally agree with a lot of what you said there. It's just, it sometimes, and it also comes back to, like you said, they got to want the help. Like right. And it goes back to, I can't want it more than you do. And so I think that's a big area for people that, you know, once you hit that hurdle and you finally get across that and you say, like, somebody might be watching this right now and saying, hey, I might be that person. Everything that you're saying today is me. And so we're not bashing you. We're just letting you know. Yeah. Hey. I mean, we all run through that. You know, I mean, before I started, you know, my journey into, you know, down the self-development world, right? Like, I was always like wallowing in my own self-pity. Like, I always was saying, like, I'm not good enough. Like, something will never happen for me. Like, what, you know, like all these things, like I used to say to myself. And sometimes they still creep in from time to time. You're a human being. Like, you're going to every once in a while doubt yourself, especially if you're not confident in that area of which you're in, right? You're going to be like, oh, can I really do this? But then you say, no, I can learn this, right? You know, but like the old Billy, right, would probably just be like, I can't do that. Like, why? You know, I'm never going to do anything better. So I just keep doing what I'm doing. Right. So, but like, I think the big thing for somebody that's watching and might be saying, like, I'm in that situation, right? we want to help, but you also have to want the help. Like you have to want the opportunity to be helped. You have to take that seriously, because if you want, like Melissa was saying, like if you want to get better, like if you want to be a better person, if you want those things that everybody else is posting about on social media, right? Mm-hmm. You're going to have to get better as a person. Like there's no, and it's going to suck. It's not going to be fun. You're going to uncover shit that you don't want to really uncover.
Absolutely. Well, you have to be honest with yourself.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, if you don't uncover it, you're always going to be right where you're at. You're always going to be in the same place. And if you're cool with that, fine. But don't bring other people down, right? Don't bring other people down with you. Like, you survived a lot of things in your life. You can survive this. You can get past this.
Yeah, I think that's what people forget. It's you're in a situation, whether you're in a committed relationship, you live with somebody, you're married. It shouldn't be that way. It shouldn't be toxic. It shouldn't be unhealthy. And I think sometimes we just don't know because we haven't had it. We've been in toxic, and then when you finally are in a healthy relationship, you realize how it should be and how it feels really good not to cry yourself to sleep every night or cry ever, maybe once. Okay, fine. But, you shouldn't be crying, you shouldn't be, so insecure, I must use the word so insecure. You shouldn't feel insecure because somebody is doing things and you can't trust them. It's probably because they're doing things. If you feel that way, more than likely you're feeling that insecurity because it's happening. I mean, it's if you have the trust there equally and it's healthy, it shouldn't be there. You should, you know what I mean? And that's the thing that I started to really appreciate: healthy relationships, healthy friendships, healthy conversations, and really surround myself with those people more, and know that that's how it should be. And we've all been in the situations where it wasn't, but we also have to know when to get out, or not, or just run from the start. Yeah. I mean, like, this was, I was just thinking about, I was like, this was a really good topic today. A lot of people, probably think about this stuff, and I'm just glad that we got to kind of talk about it today. I think it was really important. So, but with that said, I think it's the time of the show where we start to slow down a little bit, right? We stop the yelling as much, and we get a little bit more subdued, right? And it is that time of the show where we pop up the Millennial Meme of the Week. So, for those that don't know why we do the Millennial Meme of the Week, we're millennials. My little niece, I always call her out, called memes, so millennial. They are, and I like them. And Mel likes them. And you guys like them. So we're going to show you our meme of the week. And it is mine this week. And so I tried to find something that was kind of funny. So I'm going to pop it up. And it's like, it's a guy squinting his eyes, and he says, "Not sure if I'm the bad friend or if I just have bad friends." But I love that, because you should be diving into your own psyche, I guess, if that's the right word I want to use, to see how you can improve as a person. And then once you start to improve as a person, like Mel said, you start to see things in other people, and the blinders get off, and then you can potentially help other people, but then you can start to recognize those in other people too. Yeah. So, but that was the Millennial Meme of the Week. And also, what we'd like to do towards the end of the show, we didn't get to do it last week, so Mel's going to get like double the amount of time. She's going to give us double the amount of advice for this week, because it is Mel's moment. Moment.
So, Mel, it's your moment. Take it away. What do you got for us?
I wanted to make a comment real quick to yours about the bad friend being are you the bad friend or you have bad friends? because there was one time that I was going through a kind of business friend situation recently. And I did talk about this, that I was complaining a lot about it. And I literally had to, I had to check myself because it was toxic and it was coming into me and making me toxic. And then I was complaining and bitching to my friends, making our relationship toxic. And I like that you put that up there because I forgot to bring this up. And I literally said, oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. I've been complaining or bitching about this. I'm so glad that it's over and it's done and you won't have to hear about it from me anymore. But I had to check myself. So we're all guilty of it. We're not perfect, but it is also knowing how it's affecting you and how it's affecting your other relationships when those other people are there. So I think that's the start of Mel's moment. But I would like to really go on setting healthy boundaries for yourself and for anybody you let in your life. And that was one of the best decisions I ever made out of the toxic relationship. I set the boundaries for myself in what I would and wouldn't allow people to do and treat me. And I put it into action, and it worked. I mean, it really made an impact when I started it with into the next relationship, but also just in professional. And I think that, we have to all know it's okay to walk away, whether it's a week, a month, a year, even in business. I had to walk away from a client. Recently I did it. It's just, I will not put up with toxicity. I just won't. And I think that, some people can't get it. Some people don't understand, it pisses them off. Oh, she's a bitch, or, oh, whatever, fine. I don't need explanation. I don't need a story. I sent an email. I said, look, this isn't working out for me. This isn't what I signed up. You've constantly ignored my requests. It's disrespectful. Running a business, and I'm a paid, you're hiring me, I put it out there. I got an email back of paragraph, and I deleted it. And I'm not going to respond, And I think that when we start setting boundaries for ourselves, and it sounds cheap, but you know what? It's not. I think it's absolutely the confidence and the respect for myself that when we don't respect ourselves, we allow other people to disrespect us. And I don't want to do that anymore. I was made a fool too many times and burned, and the boundaries are key. So let's go this weekend and start setting boundaries for ourselves in how we're going to, have that respect for us and make sure that people around you know the boundaries. Hey, I'm not okay with that. Hey, this isn't cool. You can do it in a gentle way. Like, I really don't like this, and not gonna fly. That's how I start off. And then if it keeps going, that's when it's peace.
I love it. Yes, set boundaries, guys. This weekend, if because no one's going to do it for you, right? And you have to protect, like Mel was saying, you got to protect your heart, your mind, your soul.
And once you start doing it with yourself, you have to start with yourself. You have to start the boundaries with yourself. I'm going to do this. I'm not going to do this. And then it becomes easier with other people. Yep. And it's hard. Look, you got to ask the hard questions, and you got to have hard conversations. That's the only way that you're going to get to the place that you really need to be and your potential, really. Is the hard conversations. And if somebody can't handle them, they're maybe peace.
I love it. So guys, but we appreciate everybody that jumped on today. All everybody that commented today, we really do appreciate it. Make sure that if you get a chance, you go over to our Facebook page, our Instagram page, and like that, follow us. Make sure you set notifications for us, because we're live every Friday, 12 o'clock. But like I said, guys, like I always say, make some good memories this weekend with your family. Hopefully, if you're in Pennsylvania, it's going to be a little bit warmer than it was the last 2 days. So get outside, enjoy it, right? Get out of your house, make some good memories. But anyways, guys, make sure you check us out next week, and we'll be talking to you guys real soon.
Get your Derby Day tickets.
See you guys.